Hey, kia ora koutou e te whānau. Welcome back to another edition of Big Hairy News. BHN to your friends. Kia ora, Chewie.
Kia ora, Pat.
You're right. Is this Amigo? I'm trying to think of the names of your band. Amigo what? Something like Amigo the Devil. Got it right?
Amigo the Devil.
The Devil.
Hey, look. It's another whimsy one. It's a frog with a banjo.
Yeah, it's just like singing Over the Rainbow. How would Amigo the Devil do Over the Rainbow? Would it be loud and thrashy?
Probably sad and spooky. No, it was pointed out to me by my lovely wife, but that too many of my band T-shirts feature skulls.
Okay.
So I'm now purposely avoiding any T-shirt with skulls on and really focusing in on the whimsy.
Sure, I've got another one. I've got another new one.
Cowboy frog or a frog with a banjo. It's frog-based.
It's a moon, and it's got an astronaut hanging on a seat off the moon. So I've got a new one as well.
That's whimsy. That's
whimsy.
It's
the whimsical night.
T-shirts.
We're going to have a nice night where everyone's going to be happy and no one's going to be grumpy. No grumpy FM, I think is what they're calling us tonight.
Oh, that's not going to happen.
Tania Waikato is in the green room, as we call it. Who we'll get to in just one super soon second. I just want to remind people that this week we've got some pretty good specials and some special Christmas deals going on. A bunch of people ordered last night. We want to make sure that if you want merchandise, then we want to make sure you get it by Christmas. So for this week only, there is a chance for you to buy a T-shirt or a hoodie. And if you buy a T-shirt or a hoodie, we're going to throw some free stickers in. So if you buy a T-shirt, any T-shirt, you're going to get a 4-pack of stickers. If you buy any hoodie, you're going to get an 8-pack of stickers. If you buy a second item, like a T-shirt and a hoodie, the second item will be half off, and you'll also get stickers. So if you buy a T-shirt and a hoodie, you pay full price for the hoodie, you pay half price for the T-shirt, and you get 8 stickers because you've got a hoodie. If you buy 2 T-shirts, one of the T-shirts will be full price, one of the T-shirts will be half price, and you'll get 4 stickers because there's T-shirts in it. So there you go. Presents for you for Christmas, bhn.nz/shop. It's all written up there if you get confused. It's all automatic as well. There's no, what do you call it? I was going to say passcodes. The codes you put into the online, your not a postal code, the code thing. You know, the thing that's code that gives you specials, that code. The specials code.
I feel like I should help you here, but I'm not going to.
Okay, you bastard.
It's just fun to watch you flail around.
Yeah, the code, the codification of the code.
The code
code. There's no codes.
Code for codes.
It's all look at that. Scruffit always helps me. The promo code, that'll do. It's all automated, so it'll just do it by itself for you. So you don't have to remember everything. And also remember, actually, the other thing is there's a bunch of new stickers, which I showed you last week, I think, including the 4 faces and the dogs. The dogs of BHN. We've got that one there as a sticker as well. So you might actually get some stickers that aren't even up for sale yet. You just might get them as part of the pack. And of course the enamels, which are incredibly popular at the moment, are all good to go. Yeah, you can buy, as they say, the full house, and that's basically buy 5 get 1 free. They're all there on our special backing. Hey, like our backing's pretty cool. So that's all up and running. Yeah, and we'll only do this particular special for this week. We're going to do something else next week. I don't know whether it'll be a better value special or not as quite a good value special. I would just say don't wait around. If you want some stuff for Christmas, you should get it. bhn.nz/shop.
You should.
Okay.
Treat yourself. Treat your friends. Treat your enemies.
And codifications of the Cody codes. Tonight on the show, actually, we're going to talk about a little bit later on about the Kāinga Ora has had money taken out of their budget. Well, maybe it's money left over, money not spent, that has then been allocated to infrastructure, to a bridge. And it made me think, Chewie, and we'll get into the details later on, the podcast this week that Gary Payunda's done with Craig Rennie, how there's there's just like $500 million left over from the health budget. How many budgets is this government going to purposely leave a ton of money left over so they can just slide them into another area to try and cover off all the money they don't have from big tobacco, from landlords, from tax cut? You know what I mean? It's like, as every budget, oh, look, there's $1 billion left here. How did that happen? Oh, by the way, landlords, we need to cover that cost, so we'll just take it from the Department of Vulnerability. Is there a Minister of Vulnerability? Whatever. And so we'll talk a little bit about that tonight. We'll have a look at what Chippy and Luxo had to say about that. Also, it was a story kind of from yesterday, but I'm loving what the Greens have done. I'm loving that the Greens have basically gone, attention, mining companies. If you sign up with this company, this government, when we get in, we're going to cancel them, which is something that we actually talked about, Chewie, 3 or 4 months ago about, well, I think we were talking about Labour, but actually Labour, Te Pāti Māori, the Greens, actually coming out now going, all these things that these international groups are going to sign up for under this government, if we get into power, we're going to rip them up. It's actually a really, really clever idea, because imagine a mining company or someone who wants to look for natural gas or whatever going, well, I could put $300 million into this and then just have the next government go, contract is finished.
Yeah. 100%. It's great.
So I think it's a really good plan. And it's a good plan because Nikki Nobokes is really pissy about it. Her pearls got clutched like no other thing. So yeah, that's kind of cool as well.
Shane Jones is furious. David Seymour's furious. Judge it on who it's pissing off. Yeah. People.
Yeah, totally. Also, I've got a little video for you a bit later on, just to do a little bit of American coverage of Donald Trump going to sleep in the Oval Office while a whole bunch of people are speaking around him, and he is absolutely asleep in his seat, not able to stay awake. There is conjecture, might be the wrong word. There are people who are suspicious that he may have a heart issue at the moment. There was a photo taken, and with his suit jacket was open, and there's like a tube down, obviously, to be able to be seen, like there's something going from up near his chest area down to the inside pocket of his jacket. So, and he's done things like he doesn't stand anymore. He only sits in these meetings. So there's a little bit of conjecture. Maybe that's a bit word going on at the moment.
I think I could solve that though. That's not actually anything medical. That's just piping fresh KFC potato and gravy directly into his bloodstream.
It's so funny. Before you started talking, I thought it was going to be, you were going to say it's a gravy, and it's exactly what you said, because that's about appropriate for what Donald Trump would have. So
look,
there you go.
When you started talking about there's been conjecture about Donald Trump, I thought you were going to talk about the Bubba thing.
Oh my gosh, it's hilarious. And did you hear? Okay, so everyone knows this, but in case there's one person watching that hasn't, there was an email between Jeffrey Epstein and his brother, whose name I think is Mark. And his brother Mark, I think, said to Jeffrey Epstein, does Putin still have the photos of Trump blowing Bubba? And it was all cleared up today with Mark, the brother, coming out going, oh, in that email when we were talking about Bubba, it wasn't Bill Clinton. Although there was no explanation as, who is Bubba then that Trump was blowing? Who was he? So yeah, it's pretty hilarious.
You're missing the best bit.
Okay.
Who is Bubba?
Well,
there's another Bubba that is in the circle.
Bubba Gump?
No, Ghislaine Maxwell's horse is called Bubba.
Oh no! Oh, that's worse. Okay, thank you for making it worse. Hey, we've got a lawyer coming on. We need to settle this smut down and be more respectful in our tone.
Nah.
Anyway,
nah.
No, you just say no.
Not doing it. Can't do it.
Okay, no,
Can't stop,
just won't.
stop.
Let's welcome to the show a friend of the show. I haven't seen her for a wee while, actually. We were just talking before you came on board, Chewie. It's like, when did we last have Tania on? It's been a minute, as the kids would say, or cool people. Let's welcome to the show Tania Waikato. Tania, kia ora, good evening, and a welcome.
Kia ora, how are you?
Kia ora.
Yeah, we're doing good, man. We're getting there. We're getting there. Busy old bees is what we are. We're getting there. How about you? Busy?
Yeah, I feel you on the busy bee part. I've just had a few little things to do, just a little bit.
There was a story on One News tonight. Explain to me before I haven't even decided whether I'm going to play it or not yet, but explain to me what you've been doing with the schools. And are you the person organising this? Because TV1 gave you no credit if you are. Just tell us the genesis of the signatories to these 500 plus schools signing on to saying, yeah, we're happy to continue to acknowledge treaty on our school grounds. Give us a background.
Yeah, so this kind of sprung up organically, I guess is the best word for it. So on the weekend just gone, which seems like a long time ago now, I posted one letter that I had received from the schools. I made a video prior to that highlighting the repeal of this part of Section 127 in the Education and Training Act, because it was something that we foreshadowed in our evidence on the Regulatory Standards Bill way back in April. So when they actually did it, I basically had to say, we told you so. We knew they were coming for this particular section because it has the strongest wording of the types of treaty clauses that we see in our law. So because this one said to give effect to Te Tiriti, and because it's throughout the Education and Training Act, we knew they would come after it. So I posted a video saying that. Then I got some letters from some schools. I posted one, then I got some more. So I made a little list and it just kind of snowballed from there. And we are now, as of tonight, at over 650 schools. Yeah, so, I mean, I am in a privileged position. I did give One News all the information, even though they didn't say anything about it. But the schools have been just flooding my inbox over the past week and a half or so. And it's one of those things, right? It's a completely organic groundswell of a backlash against the ridiculous stuff that this government's been doing.
As have most of the responses been from iwi. I just think about the hikoi, for example, and what got together under Te Tiriti and Eru Kapakingi. That was natural. It's the opposite of what the, pardon the pun, but the groundswell group or the astroturf groups under the taxpayers union. It is literally grassroots, and it's it's amazing. It seems to be the pushback against this government for the whole term has been very much authentic, genuine, grassroots pushback, yeah?
And the great thing about this particular pushback is that it's not. It's not confined to just our kura. Like, definitely there's a whole lot of kura on there, and the overarching boards did come out quite early on to say that all the kura would support it. But the Catholics came out really early on as well. So the Catholic Education Office came out, I think, within the first 2 days and said that they had directed all of their over 200 schools to essentially support this. And we've had so many Catholic schools sending in their individual letters and responses to this. But for me, that's one of the most interesting things about watching the list grow each day is this huge spread of different schools, different backgrounds, different areas, some very unexpected areas. And I'm very privileged to be receiving these because some of the messages that are coming through from the principals and the boards of trustees are just absolutely astounding in terms of the commitment to honour Te Tiriti. And I think the sort of common thread that I have seen in all of these responses that have been coming through anyway is that they really do understand that it's part of our constitutional foundation and they're not having any of this government trying to dumb it down and also trying to, I guess, say to them that you can't do this and give kids a good education at the same time.
I think we've all watched a bit of the One News item because they talk about the Catholics in there, and I think they said 267 schools, something like that. The thing about that is, thinking about the pushback against, the Treaty Principles Bill and also Regulatory Standards Bill, and they were like, 90% plus were all against those. I reckon it's getting to a size right now, 600-700, that if schools don't sign it now, it'll say more about them than the ones who do. Now, what that means is schools that haven't signed it yet will feel it may be unspoken pressure, because if it's a grassroots thing, there probably should be unspoken pressure to actually sign it. And I don't see there's any reason why you might not get 12, 15, 1,800 schools by the time this is all over. And if that does happen, then what does this government do?
Exactly, and the pressure's already on. It's not silent pressure. Trust me, there are people flooding the comments of every time we post an update, calling out different schools, calling out their own schools, calling out basically anybody that's not on the list yet to say why are you not on the list. And I did provide a template email for anybody that wants to contact their own schools to ask them to join the list. So that's doing the rounds as well. So you're right. I think we are very close to hitting a critical mass on this because, it hasn't been out there very long, and we're getting about 100 schools adding to the list a day at the moment. So if we carry on at that rate, we're going to hit 1,000 by the end of this week easily.
Yeah, that's amazing. Chewie, we're going to go to the story, the one news story. Do you want to ask or say anything before we do that? Because I've been monopolising Tania's time so far.
I have been checking your list religiously, and I am disappointed but not surprised to see my two schools not on that list. So I did exactly what you suggested and used that template and emailed them last night. I haven't heard anything yet. And maybe, look, it's Timaru. It's very middle South Island, but they are getting left for dead by the Dunedin schools, which is really good to see.
Yep.
Yes.
And even the deep south as well. Bluff was one of the first schools on that list, which I was like, wow, that's amazing. But yep, Dunedin has been going hard. Christchurch has picked up in the last couple of days as well. And I really do think it's like one of those things, once one school in an area goes, it kind of pings off a little bit of a chain reaction, especially amongst the parents. And I wouldn't give up on your school just yet as well. I've had so many board members and principals say to me, we've got our board meeting scheduled for next week or in early December. So we'll be considering it then. And please, we'll come back to you once that's done. So they're definitely feeling the pressure because, they are obviously getting emails like yours and parents and other people. I've got parents saying they're going to pull their kids out of schools if they don't sign up to the list.
Wow.
Which is why I posted the video today to say, hey guys, give them a chance. Don't write them off just yet. There's lots of time for them to do this. So just wait and encourage them to do the right thing. So, yeah, we'll see.
Right.
We'll see how they go.
Molotov cocktail away.
You just keep watching each day, Chewie. I have faith in them.
Now, I'm looking at mine. I came through the Catholic school system, and I don't think I went to 3 schools. Any of them are there yet, but I'm assuming that a sort of Big Daddy Bishop man's going to tell them to get their names up there, but I don't think they're there quite yet. I'm looking.
Yeah, they're coming. The Catholic schools have been coming in quite steadily over the last week, but I know there's over 200 of them to come, and we definitely don't have all of them yet. So that's why I know there's still quite a lot more schools to join the list. And also the kutas, I don't even think we've got half of the kuta on there yet. We might be getting close to half, but there's definitely a lot more of them still to come too. So I know for just sort of rough math, I think we're going to get to 1,000 just with all of them coming in.
So big shout out, because I can see Sacred Heart Girls College in Hamilton is there. Sacred Heart Girls College in New Plymouth is there. Sacred Heart School in Dunedin is there. Come on, Sacred Heart College in Epsom, in Auckland, and Glen Innes in Auckland. Where are you guys? And my other school was St. Peter's in Epsom in Auckland. Don't think they're there. Neither is Monte Cecilia Primary School. So come on, choppy chop. I think I'll be doing emails tonight as well.
I think this is terrifying. I think this is terrifying for David Seymour, because this is something that I've spoken about before, that the battle that he is fighting is a generational one, and it's one that he hasn't realized that he's lost. Like he still thinks there's people that think that they can wind this back, that they can stuff the toothpaste back in the tube. But the teachers are on board, the kids are on board. I think the majority of New Zealanders are not as hostile to Māori culture or the place that Māori have in New Zealand as he thinks they are.
Absolutely. And that's what this is proving again for me as well. We had an amazing demonstration of that with the Treaty Principles Bill, and this is another demonstration of that. But the thing that I really like about this particular backlash is that it's so grassroots that, you know what I mean? Like there's no leadership, as it were. There's no toitu, there's no Māori Party, there's no, do you know what I mean? There's literally just the schools of their own initiative. I might be encouraging them a little bit, but you know what I mean? They are choosing to do this, and they initiated it, and all I did was give them a platform, highlight what they were doing, and encourage more schools to do it. But it really is something that's coming from them, and you're right, Chewie, it's a generational thing. These teachers have been living with this particular piece of legislation for 5 years, and they've wrapped their heads around how to do it and how to incorporate Te Tiriti in education, and they love it. And so do the kids. And David Seymour really is out of touch. And it's one of those things that people have been saying. He's not a parent. He doesn't understand the quality of education that our teachers are providing for the children. And he thinks it's just, you know, something that you can throw out the window and nobody's going to care about it, which is something that I think he's really out of touch with.
Let me throw this out there as well. Because Chewie, you said that David Seymour is panicking. Tania, you used the word platform at some stage. So I'll show you in a minute on the platform why I think you're right. When David Seymour defended Tania Waikato. Didn't use the name, but defended Tania Waikato. But first of all, I just want to put this out there. I don't know if we're going to play the TVNZ story now, but if we did play it, this is one of the things I would say. Because one of the arguments being put out by David Seymour and his ilk is, well, we're not saying you can't show obligations to the treaty. We're not saying you can't teach it. We're just giving the option. And I'll just say this again. As much as can be compared, whilst it may not be a direct parallel, this is our founding document. Just like in America, they have the Constitution. Could you imagine a school in America saying, oh, you know, Constitution stuff? You can choose whether you want to do that or not. You know, that Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, you can choose. If you don't do it, it's fine. No problems at all. We're going to make it so you don't have to do that anymore. Just think of the conceptual of what that would look like. That is what we're seeing in New Zealand. Now, saying that, I don't know if you know much about this guy here, Tania. He's a melted pile of pancake batter that we visit every now and again. And he was very keen. This is really interesting, Chewie. He was very keen to drag David Seymour into the culture war. This is a big deal, and people are pushing back against the government. And, you know, in America, they did that thing with LeBron, just shut up and dribble. He's basically saying, teachers should just shut up and teach spelling. That's basically what he's saying. And David Seymour goes, no, they can do it. It's their right. And so you've got a situation where when David Seymour's the good guy in a conversation, you know it's a fucked up conversation. Let me play it for you.
Who's running this, David? We've got this lawyer, is it Tania Waikato?
Hey.
What organisations? And it's clearly the letters are all fundamentally the same. They're connected through to John Gerritsen, the education reporter at Radio New Zealand. It has all the hallmarks of a union campaign. Who is actually running it?
Well, I don't know the answer to that. That's up to the person who's doing it. And frankly, I'd rather play the issues than the person. The changes that the government...
But hang on. I just want to stop you there, Minister. Surely one of the...
I just want to stop you because I want you to play the person, not the issue. Stop.
The issues here is that it is a coordinated anti-government campaign, not a spontaneous reaction of school boards. This is the politicisation of our schools, and that is an issue.
You're probably right, but actually I don't really hear who's doing it. People have a right to campaign. People have a right to advocate a certain view. I would rather be...
But no, I want to stop you again, Minister.
Third time.
Collectively, school boards don't. School boards have a right or an obligation to educate kids and run schools that educate kids best, not to be political.
He had a big wind up there and he didn't quite stick the landing about what school boards are supposed to do, but this is the last bit. I'll be out in 10 seconds, kids.
Activists.
But that's not what they're doing. They are simply saying that within the law, this is how they'd like to run their schools. Now, they've got a right to do it. I'm in favour of free speech. I'm in favour of people choosing how they behave. I just make the point that the government has done something else they may have missed, and it's sad it's been missed in all of this. The ACT Party campaigned and won a policy where academic attainment becomes the paramount objective.
And that's the other lie, that people say that you can't demonstrate obligations to Te Tiriti and also have academic achievement be your number one role. There's nothing saying that you can't do both, you know.
Nah, it's absolute rubbish. And it's just another line, and it's just, you know, they've decided on their talking points and they've decided on their rhetoric around what they're going to say as to why they should take Te Tiriti out. And you're hearing the education minister rabbit the same line, and you're hearing him rabbit the same line, and they've all got the same speechwriter. But the interesting thing about that interview for me is that he has changed his tune from just a day ago. And he was his Facebook post a day ago, which is the one that I ripped him a new one for. He was poo-pooing this. He was saying there's only 200 schools and they're inconsequential small schools and who cares. But that tone that he's using in that interview there, night and day compared to what he was saying yesterday. And you know why that is. It's because the numbers have bumped, and who is on that list has also had a massive influence. If you look at that list, there are some highly influential schools on that list, including some in his electorate. And he will be very conscious of the fact that Dio is on that list. And some of the other schools that, you know, if he came out and criticized them in the same way that he was yesterday, he's getting himself into some hot water. And for me, that indicates the pressure that this list is creating, not just politically, but in terms of the groundswell. Like, they can count, I can count, all politicians can count, and they don't care about anything except for numbers. If this gets to 1,000, we're having a different conversation come next week, I'll tell you that much.
If you get to 1,000, that's 40% of the schools. Speaking to a party that got 8% of the vote, I think that means you win, Tania. 40% bigger than 8%. Can I just say one other thing as well? Just because I want to be a prick, I do want to be a prick. That the interviewer, Voldemort, in that conversation, he is someone who forever and a day wants to put out that he is the anti-establishment person. He is the person that pushes back. What a fucking bootlicker. I mean, he is spouting government talking points and bootlicking like a Luxon simp. He's supposed to be this big hard man, push back against the man won't step on me, and he's basically doing what Trump allegedly did to that horse to the national-led government. You know, it's fascinating to see what it would take.
What was interesting for me is that he was clearly trying to bait Seymour into going after me, and Seymour just flatly refused more than once. That is also interesting to me because he didn't want to say my name. And I understand that. I think Seymour is scared of saying my name because he doesn't want to give me any more platform than I've already got. And fair enough, I would do that too. I think it was a smart way to respond to that, to be honest, for Seymour, because if he had come out and just, you know, sort of did what he was asking him to do, which is to go after me, you can bet your bottom dollar that everybody would have come out and gone against him. So I think it was a smart way to play it, but I also think the key to all of this is we are getting the numbers, and it is one of those things where the government will be watching very carefully to see how this list grows over the next few days. And the more it grows, the more the pressure grows. I was just looking at you talking about in his electorate, Auckland Grammar's not there yet, St Peter's College is not there yet, Epsom Girls is not there yet. But some pressure. Like my sisters were people working on those. Yeah, well, my sisters were Epsom Girls. I was St Peter's for the first 4 years. You know, is King's there? Do you know? Like, I'm thinking when you say the kinds of schools, I'm thinking about these Auckland schools that these little turdlings that are politicians now went to as well. The ones they went to, especially the ones they went to that have an element of prestige to them, like the Auckland Grammars and the Kings in Auckland, Christchurch Boys, this kind of stuff. I do know of some very interesting schools that have sent me messages, and I won't say their names yet, but they've said that they are going to have their meetings in the near future and that they will be coming back to me. So all I can say is keep an eye on the list, because the list gets more interesting by the day.
Yeah, no, you're right. Actually, it's filled me with a lot more interest now to think about having a look who it is there and who isn't there. I'm skipping through the one news story now. I'm gonna find the bit because you guys talked about Dunedin. Heidi Haywood from DNI, Dunedin North Intermediate, was one of the ones that was filmed on the news tonight. I think it would be good for us to hear from a principal. I haven't got it quite queued up yet because I queued up the whole story. So Chewie, you got another question or comment for Tania while I'm looking for this to get ready?
Look, I think you're very generous towards David Seymour. I think there might be an ulterior motive. I think that he knows that you could bench press his body weight, and that is something that he needs to consider in his day to day. I also think the reason that Sean Plunkett is such a bootlicker is, look, I would like to check his wardrobe and see if the haunted girdle of Benito Mussolini is in there somewhere.
I was really interested actually that he knew who I was.
Yeah.
So he must be stalking at some point. So I haven't blocked him yet, but I'll get onto that right after this.
And credit where credit's due, Tania. I was a little bit impressed with his pronunciation of your surname. It wasn't.
Yeah, it was pretty good. But
it wasn't too bad.
It wasn't
All
too
right.
bad.
To the bench
We'll give
pressing.
him credit for that at least.
Back to the bench pressing. Now, I had this queued up from the start of the program, so start of the clip, so this might not be exactly right, but let's have a listen to what one of the principals in Dunedin is saying about this.
Remove the requirement for school boards to give effect to the Treaty of Waitangi.
Well, I think our board feels both insulted and patronised. We don't really see Te Tiriti as a compliance task. As a board, and I think arguably as a nation, we've actually moved beyond that.
Te Tiriti was never meant to be an optional thing. It's our foundational document, and removing it from the Education Act just means that we can take it or leave it, and that's the wrong message to be sending our Māori whānau.
An online list of schools declaring their continued commitment
No name check, though.
to upholding the treaty now contains over 500 names. That's about 1 in 5 of all schools in New Zealand.
Is your policy out of touch?
No, because there's 5 times more schools than that for a start.
The New
So
Zealand
there you go. That's something for you to reference. So if you missed it, it was a bit quick. He said there's 5 times the number of schools that haven't signed. So that means if you get to 1,000, well, there's 2.5 times. If you get to 1,500, well, there's 60. If you get to 2,000, you know what I mean? It's like you're
we're
right.
having a math test. We're having a math test. My math is mathing. I don't know about them. I talked to the second principal in that story there. I was yarning to him today because I actually gave One News all of that information so that they could make that story last night. And he actually said to me that he's a big fan of yours and that if you want someone, principal, to come on the show, he's glad to come on the show and talk to about that because they cut out all of the good bits from this interview. But his comments were very much in line with all of the comments that I've been getting from the principals from the schools. They just feel totally patronised by this government and they know what they're doing. The educators of New Zealand have been doing an amazing job for a really long time with not enough funding and not enough support from this government. And for the government now to be attacking them, in every single way, there's another bill that's coming out, I think tomorrow. And again, it's just another step on the road to privatisation. If you think this is about anything else other than that, then you have been asleep for the last 6 months. This is David Seymour and his mates clearing the way to create more charter schools and to also remove the biggest obstacle that they have for privatising our education sector, which is Te Tiriti.
I was thinking of this when we were talking to Gary Payinda last night when he was talking about the changes in the health system. And I was thinking, because he actually challenged us, he said, find someone in the health sector that is a fan of the changes this government is making to the health sector. And when I watched that item on One News tonight, I went, who asked for this? Who in the education setting, who of the people who are at the front line, they're the ones they keep telling us about, we're going to support the front line, who asked for this to be taken out? And I suspect Yeah, and I suspect that much like Gary said of the medical professionals last night, if you went to the educational professionals, the ones that refuse to answer, maybe there's a reason they want it taken out, something a little bit slimy, but by far and away the bulk of them, 99% of them are going to be like, we didn't ask to have this taken out and we don't want to have it taken out, which then does raise the question, why the fuck are they playing with something that no one in the sector wants them to play with?
Well, of course, there was the mystery parent that David Seymour referred to that he couldn't produce, and he couldn't answer the OIA request to provide details of who the mystery parent was. But
Yeah.
I think one mystery parent versus 653 schools. Again, my math is mathing just fine. I don't know about his. The other thing too is Hobson's Pledge came out in an email that's been leaked quite widely and claimed all of the credit for this. They said that they mounted a specific campaign to the National Party and told them to take this clause out, and then they celebrated when that happened, and they said that they had to make sure that Erica Stanford, apparently Erica Stanford is the wokest minister in the national government, and they mounted a campaign against her to make sure that this was taken out. So that's the answer to your question. It is the strings that are being pulled in very high places with lots of money behind them, and it has got nothing to do with the education sector. I've had private emails from people within the ministry saying to me that they absolutely support 100% what we are doing, and they wish they could say that publicly.
You say Don Brash and you say those guys. I think Roe has a good answer as well. If you want to find the people who have done it, Roe suggests that you might have to get your atlas out to find who's responsible for it. I think that's
Ro knows.
fair.
Ro knows how to read a map.
That's so smooth.
That's very smart, Ro.
Smooth.
Very smart.
Can I just address one other thing? People are saying in the chat, when does the podcast start? Before we wrap up for the night, Tania's incredibly busy. Look what she's doing. She's making an impact and doing all sorts of other stuff now. I think, Tania, though, I do feel like we haven't talked. It's been too big of a gap for us to get you on and have a chat about things in general. So we want to have you back sooner, not this big of a gap again. Where to? So just so I'm clear, this started this weekend. So like 4 or 5 days ago?
It started last, so I posted my video highlighting section 127 last weekend. Then
Okay.
I've got the first letter, which was Whakatania High School, posted that, I think it was Sunday. And then the first day we had 5 schools. And then the second day we had 50. And then it's basically been 100 schools a day since then, pretty much.
Damn.
Okay. And I really, I'm talking to myself here because I'm going to do it. I encourage everybody to get on. I'm just on Tania's Facebook page. Is that the best place to find the up-to-date list on your Facebook page?
Yep. So I'm posting the up-to-date list every day on Insta and Facebook. And if you want a copy of the letter, which you can copy and paste and just chuck it in an email to your schools, it's in my link tree on Instagram, and it's in my link just under my profile on Facebook as well. And I've posted it a couple of times, but I'll keep posting it because people keep missing it. But it's just a one-pager. Just chuck your school in, chuck your name in, and away you go.
Hopefully this is okay. I'm not going to use your email because I think I'll use the BHN email, and I'll email the principals and ask if they'd like to come on tomorrow night and tell us why they're not on the list. Maybe
100%.
we'll ask them that, Chewie. We'll say, I see you guys aren't on the list yet. I'm an old boy of your school. Would like to invite you to come on and just explain the rationale for not being on when so many other schools seem to want to support it.
Please do.
I'll cover.
Please do.
I'll blind cover.
There is one grammar school on there, but I want to see some more grammar schools on there.
Yeah, well, I'm St. Peter's because I was a cool kid, not grandma who's across the motorway. We used to. It's so funny. I'll tell you a story. Ready for a story time, and then we'll wrap up. So what a lot of parents did in the area, I was going to St. Peter's College in central Auckland when it wasn't quite as exclusive to be at grammar in St. Peter's as it sort of is now. Old days. And quite often what would happen, and often it was the Pacific Island families, I'm not sure why, they'd send one son to grammar and one to St. Peter's. I don't know why, but that wasn't uncommon. Yeah, it wasn't uncommon. And so we'd go down to the railway crossing to go up onto Kaiba Pass to catch our bus. And sometimes there'd be fights organised. And all the St. Peter's boys would be on one side and all the grammar boys would be on the other side. Then all the brothers who were at the grammar side would walk over to their brothers on the St. Peter's side. And then all of a sudden, it was a much bigger team. And that never really went well for grammar. So anyway, that's my little story.
Hilarious.
And for some reason, my
hopefully-
parents shifted me. So
Well, hopefully we can get both of them on our side, because I wouldn't want to be on David Seymour's side just quietly in a fight.
it does actually, because the thing about some of these schools, and I'm not necessarily fans of the schools, but whoever is the chairman of the board of trustees for Auckland Grammar, I suspect will be someone in David Seymour's community that's quite highly regarded, possibly quite powerful, likely pretty rich. So that's why, for people who don't know the area, that's why that kind of school would make a pretty big difference. I think probably the same with Epsom Girls as well.
Yeah,
Oh,
and that's why Dio going on the list so early was such a big thing, and it
Yep.
wasn't lost on me when I got that one, because I think that was about day 3 that
Yep.
Dio came through, and for me I was just like, whoa, that's cool. But I've been told that they have an amazing principal, and lots of people have been singing her praises, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the other schools have to say.
so we're knowing where to from here is basically keeping an eye on your Facebook page and keeping an eye on the list. Anything else we need to know? We might have to catch up again next week, see how it's gone. Shall we
Yeah,
see if we
for
can get, what
sure.
if we get you and David Seymour on? What about that? That'd be a fun night.
Good luck with that. Yeah, no, I'm up for it for sure. I think a lot of people would like to see that. You'd probably get your ratings shoot through the roof if you managed to pull that off.
We do that anyway. Ratings go through the roof. Yeah, it's all good. Okay, Tania. Hey, look, thanks so much. It's lovely to have you on again. It feels like old times. We'll do it again super soon. And actually, with this, we will stay in touch, whether it's just through, emailing with what's actually going on or getting you back on. As you know, you're always welcome. And this is brilliant. I apologize. I might not have quite got the scale of what it was before this talk tonight, but now I'm like, yeah, okay. I had already seen it, but now I see it, and see how important this is.
Oh, one of the most amazing things about all of this for me is that this is such a good news story for everyone. There's so many people that are
Except
commenting
Seymour.
Yeah,
Seymour,
well,
not
I mean,
me.
there's so many people that are saying, like, I'm
Good-
waiting
good
for the
news
list
story.
to come out every day, and it's making me, like, people are crying when they read the list,
cool.
when they see their schools on there. It's just, we've had so much crap from this government, and it's the one thing that people can actually do for themselves and be involved in, personally, and advocate for themselves. And to see how many schools have been so proud, and what he said on that video about all the letters being the same is absolute rubbish. Have a read of some of the letters. The content is it is actually amazing. I haven't read all of them because there's too many, but if you read some of the letters, the things that the schools have been saying about why they have chosen to do this is really, really revealing. And it shows to me, anyway, what Chewie said earlier, the generation that doesn't understand Te Tiriti and thinks it's something to be afraid of and something to attack is going. And that's an amazing thing. It gives me hope. It gives every single person who reads these letters some hope.
Cool. Tania Waikato. The Facebook page is Tania Waikato Lawyer. I'm going to keep practicing saying your surname. Maybe I'll be as good as Sean Plunkett one day, Tania. Maybe. We'll see.
You're pretty good. You're pretty good. And I'll just come back on so you get more practice.
Kapai. Hey, we'll talk to you super soon, man. Congratulations. Actually, everyone in the chat's like, love you to bits. Congratulations. It's really important. It's really nice to see some things be grassroots, but also realizing how we, the public, can actually, I was going to say affect a change. It may not make a change, but it might mean that we can make sure that important voices get heard when we all get together around something. It does feel like a good news story. So thanks so much.
And I've been saying that as well. I just say to every person that says, my school's not on there yet. I said, well, email them. You can be the change. Never mind waiting for the change. You be it. And that's what we're trying to do. Just encourage everybody. You can do it.
All right. Kia ora. Thank you for joining us tonight, Tania. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, boys. See you. Thank you.
See you.
Cheers.
Should we just wrap the show up
Do you
now
know-
and go over beer or something? It feels like about right.
I was just going to say, talking about, to hate using this word, but a groundswell movement.
Yeah.
Remember how last government we saw all of these grassroots movements like groundswell and they were all AstroTurf groups. Can you see the difference between what they tried to do and what Tania is doing?
Yeah.
Again, it's that difference between the inauthentic AstroTurf approach and something that's just happening and coming from people, you can see the difference. You can feel the difference. They can't do it. They want to mimic what a real movement is, and it just doesn't come off.
Yeah.
The other thing that I was going to say about this generational battle, did you see the story about the two newly elected councillors that fucking bolted from a council meeting because there was
For the karakia? Yep.
I had a discussion with a few people about it, right? Because councils all have orientation things, and they go through how this works. I can't see that this council didn't mention that there was going to be a karakia and what a karakia is. And one of these councillors has since sort of backpedaled on what he did and go, I didn't understand, and I felt a bit uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Being uncomfortable is fine. You can cure it by not running away from that feeling. You can learn about what it is and why it's making you uncomfortable. Like I appreciate that. If I was in, I don't know, let's say a church service. I'm not a churchy person, never have been. Don't know how it all works. Feel super awkward in a church. But do you know what I can do? I can stand there and I can be respectful and not be a shit. You know? And I might learn something about how church people do things. And it would be the same in a council environment of going, oh, well, I'm not comfortable with karakia because it's a religious thing. It's a prayer. No, not necessarily. It's just to focus a group on a task. It's an opening and a closing. Oh, right, I didn't know that. I understand it more, and suddenly now I'm not so uncomfortable. And I think this is the thing that we're talking about here, this tipping point where we are, where some people are still uncomfortable with where their place is in New Zealand and where Māori's place is in New Zealand. And it's not mutually exclusive.
Mm.
There's not this point of like, you can't learn, like at some point you stopped learning. You whenever you felt that uncomfortable feeling, you decided that you don't have to push through it. You can actually just run away from it, and you don't fucking learn anything. And those are the people that Hobson's Pledge, David Seymour, all of those sort of guys, they're the ones that are talking. They're talking to those people that have that icky feeling. Yeah. Of like, it's not your fault you feel like that, and you shouldn't have to change anything. And then the rest of us are going, oh, it's a little bit embarrassing when I know that I'm not saying the Māori words correctly. Maybe I'll just put in a little bit more effort. Maybe I'll learn a new word. Maybe I'll understand something like this. Like I was talking with a workmate, and, you know, from the south of the south, and they went to a graduation thing. And his experience of graduation things is like people's names get called out, you go up, you get the certificate, you shake the hand, sit down, go through the list. Well, there was haka, wasn't there? There was friends and family standing up and showing pride and honour in their person that was graduating. And it was a learning experience. And it's cool. It's something more than just people going up on a line. And that's the sort of thing that we're talking about. People learning. People appreciating where they live in the world and their place in this mishmash culture that we are building in New Zealand. Hopefully, slowly, inch by inch, learning about each other. It never stops. It never should stop.
It's on some level that idea of globally hot, locally not. Like if we went to Australia and sat in a ceremony and there was Indigenous arts and culture and song and, you know, Aboriginal, playing of Aboriginal music, and we'd be like, cool, because we would appreciate it because it's globally hot. But it's when people get attuned to it locally and all of a sudden they push back against it for some reason. I don't know. In fact, to be honest with you, Chewie, I really like what you've said, because there was a part of me when I heard that story that I sort of went, because I think of karakia as a prayer, and obviously I have no problems with karakia, prayer or whatever. I'm a bit of a religious lunatic, you know. But if someone doesn't want to be involved in a prayer, and I guess I do think about the church, I'm okay with them stepping away from it for a second. But like you said, karakia is not just a prayer. It's a cultural tradition. It's an opening stanza. It's, it's whatever. So yeah, I think that you've probably just opened my eyes a little bit for it tonight.
I think there's been a lot of time where when if karakia is being discussed at all, and somebody's gone, well, what is this? That the closest analogy that we have is, it's kind of like a prayer, but it's not. Yeah. Like I tell you what, if it ends in amen, it is a prayer, but it's not necessarily right, and they wouldn't do that in a council meeting.
Yeah.
But I think, going way back to when I was involved in the Scouts, I was never a religious kid. So Scout meetings are often open with the Lord's Prayer.
Oh, really?
And you don't get a choice then to go, no, not for me. But you just stand there. I didn't bow my head, I didn't close my eyes, but I wasn't going to be a dick to everybody that was.
You didn't go like this.
Doing it. That's a stupid and dumb. Even as an 11-year-old kid with ADD coming out his eyeballs at all times, bouncing off the walls, I knew that was what we refer to now as a dick move. So I didn't do it.
Can I ask you a question? And to be honest, we're not going to talk about this for another 5 minutes, but how did you feel about how much of a bootlicker Plunkett was in that? Like, you know what I mean? Like just towing the party line. This big, I'll push back, I'll say what I think. You know what I mean? It's like this is strange. It's like the Republicans who go, we want to clean out the swamp, and they become the swamp. He's become the swamp with that conversation.
Yeah, because he's got a team. Like I would have more respect for him if he was just anti-establishment all the time, no matter who the establishment
of course.
Was, right? But he's not. He has a team. He doesn't like lefties, right? And his whole thing of like, well, the board's only thing is to make sure kids are learning. Yeah, correct. And they can learn about the treaty. They can learn about New Zealand history. That is still learning. They can learn how to be a good citizen and not be a dick to their fellow citizens.
Yeah.
That is still learning. That still 100% comes under the purview of what a fucking school does. No, he's a twat, and I'll reiterate this, definitely owns Mussolini's haunted girdle.
All right, we're going to move on, but first we'll get to some of these super chats and stuff. Sorry for taking a long time to get to them, whānau, but Tania is a whirlwind of energy, and we grabbed hold of the reins and we could not let go for a second before it was all over. Citizen Gold, hey, I emailed you today, Citizen. 396 days at most of the Fossil of the Day award winners. Rajan says, booked a bus and hotel for the Dunedin meeting, the Dunners meetup. That is commitment. For people who don't know, and I haven't got the poster to show you, Friday night, the 5th of December, we are having a meet up at Aju Cafe, 333 George Street at 5:30 p.m. It'll be 5:30 to 6:30, and then at 6:30 there is a public meeting that has been advertised to the whole community, so anyone can come along. You can only come to the 5:30 if you're our friends. And that's going to feature Gary Pienda, Craig Rennie, and our local mayor here, Sophie Baker. Baker? Sophie Baker. Barker. Sophie the mayor will be also there as well.
Mayor Sophie will be there.
Mayor Sophie. Waiheke says, go hard Greens, piss those a-holes off. Kiwi Bird, I'm glad Seymour is out of touch with the kids. Kiwi Bird also says, Waikato versus Seymour, fight night when. E. Grant Wright says, Dr. Elizabeth Rata and Michael Johnson, talking about who's opposed to it. That's when that came in. Who's not a fan of having this in the education system. Tanya Rock says, Jonathan, we need people like her to join Gary in Parliament. Thank you, Jonathan, for the super chat.
Could Tanya be our second BHN member of Parliament?
My favourite little claim to fame was not long before they became the leader of Labour and the leader of National at the same time. I'd had Simon, what was his name? Bridges. Simon Bridges and Jacinda Ardern were my correspondents on the radio week about. One this week, one the next week, one the next. And then I was like, oh, cool, I know these guys, I'll get access. No, didn't make any difference whatsoever. All right, someone has just brought up something that I can't remember what it was. What was it? Oh, it was the Greens, the economic vandalism of the Greens. Yeah, we like the economic vandalism of the Greens. So let's have a look at this, shall we? So the Greens have basically said, my dudes who are going to sign contracts with this government, and they've specified the fast track projects. Well, if you sign up under this government, we're going to pull the rug out from under you if we get into power. The Green Party is pledging to revoke consents for certain mining projects granted under the fast track regime if it forms part of a government at the next election. Today, we are putting the seabed mining, hard rock gold mining and coal mining industries and their investors on notice. Your fast track consents are not safe and they are not secure, says Marama Davidson. The Greens have been warning they would revoke consents as far back as December 2024 when the initial fast track bill passed its third readings. Now, I want to play for you Nicola Willis. She is pissy about it, but also Chris Hipkins got asked about it on Herald Now, Big Herald News this morning, and let's have a listen to what he'd say about it.
Right, now let's go down to some business. What about the Green Party yesterday and their mining call? So they've said, look, we're telling the markets now before any of these fast-track permits get issued so that there's...
So take your risk. So sign at your own risk, multinationals. That's exactly what they're saying.
There's full transparency that we're not going to go ahead with any of these mining projects.
Yep.
Are you on board with them on that?
Well, that's the Greens policy. We haven't released our own policy on this stuff yet. We'll do that probably early next year, and we'll be clear where we stand on that. We've said that we'd review some of those fast-track projects case by case because we are concerned about some of those things. You know, we don't think that seabed mining is good for New Zealand. Offshore wind would be a better option for New Zealand, and seabed mining and offshore wind actually aren't compatible with one another. And, you know, more offshore wind's actually going to be better for New Zealand consumers.
So are you going to be good like the Greens and give the market forewarning that you'll be revoking...
I get frustrated with Ryan Bridge sometimes because he's actually already answered this question. He said we will... I do. I know that you love him, but I get a bit... Because Chippy's just said we will release the information early next year. Now, are you going to tell the market before you do it? It's asked and answered.
Any licences, any permits that might be issued by this government?
We'll be very upfront with what we're going to do. If you look at oil and gas, what we did when we introduced the oil and gas ban is we did honour existing contractual commitments that the government had entered into with the oil and gas ban. So those who had existing permits were still able to use them. But we'll set out our policy on this particular issue, very clearly next year.
Next year. So some of those permits will be issued by then. Are you leaving the door open for cancelling permits that have been issued?
The threshold for that would be a very, very high one, as you saw with oil and gas. We didn't do that.
And also, this is not Labour's policy. This is the Greens' policy. And Bridge is asking him, would you cancel? It's like Chippy's almost acknowledging now he is going to, but he just said a minute ago, we'll talk more about that next year.
In that instance. So we're still working through all of the details of that. We haven't confirmed our policy yet. And I'm not going to speculate on what that policy will be until we've been through that.
Record numbers of Kiwis leaving for Australia.
There you go. We'll leave it there because that's what we're talking about. I love this idea from the Greens. And I do honestly remember, I nearly went and found it, Chewie, because we definitely talked earlier in the year about, it might have even been to fucking Chippy, talking about why don't they just say, we're going to reverse this now to stop businesses wanting to get involved. It's like it might be economic vandalism, like it might actually be economic vandalism. I put my hand up, but to create confusion within the ranks of business to see if they want to risk getting involved in New Zealand if these are bunch of left-wing lunatics in the future might just cancel everything. What do you reckon?
I reckon that it is a really good move because it is forcing the issue.
Yeah.
Like, I am liking the fact that this is a minor party who is going to go into a negotiation with Labour, putting a stake in the sand of something that is important to them and well within their area of focus. Now, remember, when Greens kick up an issue, if it's like a social justice type thing or looking after the poor or something like that, and people go, why don't you stick to the environmental stuff? Well, now they are. It is 100% on brand for them.
Yeah.
And nobody should be surprised by this. Willis, Seymour, Jones, why are you surprised that the Greens have taken this position? Why is it so shocking to you? Why are you calling them doolally, economic vandals, all the hyperbole that the three of you have engaged in over the last couple of days? Why is this shocking to you?
It's fascinating, because
were
what
you
you're saying
unaware
is right.
that they were an environmental party?
It's almost
Was this
like
a complete blindside for you?
Well, it's almost like they've gone. We wouldn't do anything like this to impact like you guys taking over. How dare you? Because this undermines what we want to do. How dare you? And like I said earlier, this is the biggest pearl clutch you'll ever see in your life. She looks personally offended, as you've said, Chewie, at this very obvious and very readable green policy. I mean, to be honest, the Greens are doing what every party should do. Remember that National Smoke-Free 2025? And they're signalling what they would do after an election. Mm-hmm. So actually, this is exactly what we want our political parties to do. Therefore, if the left wins and the Greens can negotiate it, they have a mandate because they have explained it. When you do things like Smoke-Free 2025 and a myriad of other things, and you've told no one about it, you don't have a mandate to do that huge, life-changing cancelling of world-class policy. So you have a look and a watch of Nicola Willis. She honestly, it's like you've just said something about her dead grandma. She is so offended.
Economic vandalism of the highest order. The message this sends to the world is
she's pissed,
rely
man.
on New Zealand. When I travel internationally, one of the things that people say to me is, we like you, New Zealand, because you've got stable institutions, you've got rule of law, we can rely on you. What the Greens are doing is ripping up that reputation that has taken decades and successive governments to build. They're saying, invest in New Zealand.
They're ripping that up, Chewie, by wanting to protect our environment. How dare you, Greens, stamp on that stuff that's been 100% pure for the last 20 years by you wanting to look after the environment and signal it. How dare you?
Massive sovereign risk. We could pull the carpet out from under you at any time.
Yep.
It will have a chilling effect.
Yep.
And my message to anyone who's wanting to invest in Kiwi jobs, Kiwi businesses, bringing their capital in from around the world is we will make sure the Greens don't get to form a government so this remains a stable, good country to invest in, because that sort of policy has no place in good government, and I am appalled that Chris Hipkins has not taken the...
Hang on. That sort of policy, reversing the previous government legislation, are you sure, Nicola, you want to put out there as a yardstick for bad government that you shouldn't stop previous government's legislation or policy? Because if we start to tot up what you guys have done this term, stopping policy and legislation put in by the last lot, we'd get to some pretty high numbers pretty quickly. So when you say this is not the kind of thing that should happen, this is the kind of thing you guys have been, in fact, it's been worse. This is the kind of thing you guys have been doing without telling anybody you were going to do it this whole fucking term.
government so this remains a stable, good country to invest in, because that sort of policy has no place in good government, and I am appalled that Chris Hipkins has not taken the very clear opportunity to rule it out completely, because there's only one party the Greens can ever govern with, and that's the Labour Party. So they need to be economically responsible and say no to such a terrible, terrible stance.
Do you know how many jobs would be lost if those...
I think that's what we need. You can see she is offended. She is ropeable. Let me tell you something else I worked out today. I was flicking around looking for some more footage for this story, and I came across a story from a while ago. It was in one of the it was embedded in one of the One News stories, where the government or DOC, whoever it was, wouldn't allow a mining company to clear a bit of land because there was 1,000 geckos there. Mm-hmm. And they were like, 250 jobs and da-da-da-da. And I just had this thought, and I thought the same about this. In 500 years from now, will the person in 500 years from now be more worried about extracting that coal or gold, or whatever, it was a gold mine actually, that gold, if it costs the lives of these native indigenous animals? Or in 500 years from now, will they be so excited that we didn't let this mining company wipe out 1,000 of our native lizards, potentially putting the lizards in it could be completely gone, but certainly in a much more vulnerable space. In 500 years from now, I mean, Chewie, let's flick that around the other way. 500 years ago, are we happy that the fucking colony, well, that wasn't even 500, it was 200 years, 150 years, that they brought fucking hedgehogs with them? Or would we rather that they didn't, and we would have safer, easier access to our native birds? It's like in 500 years from now, in 100 years from now, those geckos are going to have far more value to this country than the gold they would have extracted and then filled the hole in. And I think it's the same. It's like the idea of what damage this could do, the mining, the drilling, the looking for minerals, the damage it can do long term versus, and I actually thought today, Chewie, the word you used, the sugar hit that would give right now.
Yeah.
And I just don't think it's worth it. I don't think it's worth it.
There's so many layers to where I sit on this. It's once you dig up a landscape like the Denniston Plateau as an example, or the Macrae gold mine here in Otago, you can't remediate the land back to what it is. Like, you've destroyed an environment, you've done a big hole in the ground. There's no take back on that. You can try and minimize it, but no one's flying around the world to see an open pit coal mine on the West Coast, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is a time where our government is crowing about, the tourism's coming back. We've paid $6 million to have the Michelin star thing. That's going to be great for everyone. Yay! They don't come for that. Now, I can appreciate that there is a place for mining. And if there is going to be a place for mining, one of the things that should be given such heavy weighting is, if we do this here, is something gone forever? So we need to decide, is this an environment that is found almost nowhere else on the planet? There's something that lives here that we can't get back if we fuck this up. Do we trust this international mining company to tell us the truth? And if we can't trust them, what measures are we putting in place to protect the taxpayers of New Zealand? Now, every time Shane Jones talks about it, I get a man that is there in a wide tie and white shoes doing Uncle Shane Jones's big discount mineral blowout. Everything must go cheap, cheap, cheap. The royalties are next to nothing. The gold mine here in Otago made something like $600 million and paid, I think, $10 million in royalties.
Yeah. What's the point?
How much did that help the country?
Yeah.
It helped the company a lot. Right, it's good that those miners have good paying jobs, but someone's making a lot of bank. When you look at other countries managing their mineral resources, and I'm going to use Norway as an example, they're getting 80% royalties out of some of their stuff because they're sitting on the resources and the company wants the resources. The resources aren't going to move. We are doing the same thing that Australia does, which is going, as long as our citizens have good paying jobs, that's all we care about. But there's so much, in some cases, they're subsidizing what these companies are pulling out of the ground over there. It makes no fucking sense. No economic sense. And we run the risk of falling into this now. Shane Jones doesn't want these companies to pay any sort of bond for the environmental damage that they're going to do. And some of the things that we've done in the past, or let these mining companies do in the past, like the mining around the Denniston Plateau, right? One of the things that they found there is a species of carnivorous land snail, giant carnivorous land snail, sounds fucking cool, that are only found there. So they said, we will create an environment to protect those land snails. Do you know what that is, that environment is? It is a refrigerated shipping container where the snails live in moss-filled ice cream containers, basically. But that ticked the box. That ticked the box for them to mine in that environment, is that they were protecting those snails. That sounds like they've come up with a snail Alcatraz. That doesn't sound good. No one's going to pat us on the back for that. So I appreciate that Minister Willis thinks that this is economic vandalism, and I accept that she would probably recognise it when she sees it, because she's been fucking doing one for over a year. Great big economic vandalism. She's a fucking pro at it. But yeah, the shock and the hyperbole over an environmental party taking a strong and principled environmental position is laughable. If you talk to the Greens about it, they are like, we cannot rely on mining for the long term. So why don't we pivot into something that we can do? Like what Hipkins said, the offshore power generation. Why aren't we moving into new technologies? You know, there is more money to be made in those industries than there is in just pulling old dead shit out of the ground and burning it like they've been doing since the 1800s. It's laughable. It's old ideas from old fucking people and old companies that have made their money this way for generations. Is that a bit of a rant? I feel like that's a bit ranty.
That's a good one. Actually, I quite like that. Brian says a wind of change is blowing through the country, and I think he's right. Mm-hmm. Speaking of the 1800s, let's have a look at this now, because that's when Donald Trump was born, in the 1800s officially. I'd like to show you Trump. This is from the Washington Post. Trump kept struggling to keep his eyes open at an Oval Office event, and I'll tell you what, it is clear as a bell. He can't do it. He can't keep his eyes open. Part of me kind of goes, you know what, I fall asleep sometimes in front of the TV, I get it. But you're the president of the United States. Falling asleep in an Oval Office meeting is not a good look.
Who live in food deserts and are suffering from obesity and are locked into that system. President Trump has also instructed us to address and end the root causes of chronic disease. Who made this happen? They saw that this could be a win-win situation.
It's one of those perfect things where the blink gets longer and longer and longer and longer, and then it doesn't stop. It's just one long blink.
Prescriptions is also going to drop.
Mind you, I'd fall asleep listening to that droning on as well. Look as your eyes open up. Come on, eyes. Stay open, eyes.
Or pre-diabetic or of heart.
Good reason against it. Now, MAHA is critical. America will have to get fit in order to right-size the healthcare system and sleep and dealing with issues related to that. And I want to say it as clear as I can. Secretary Kennedy mentioned New York City. It actually, the #1 zip code is the Upper East Side.
I love that the Washington Post just stayed on
folks
it.
who know, but I don't measure it in pounds. I
think
it
now
to
he's
save
gone.
lives. People can sleep again because they can breathe.
No eyes opening.
Folks whose knees don't hurt. People who don't have heart attacks.
That is a sleeping human being.
Associated with obesity and much
no eyes open. Still no eyes open.
Each of us to have purpose
Do you know what we need on this?
And to do that, we must be good stewards of our bodies. And the president has been fighting to provide another tool to do
and then a soft, gentle fart.
Sorry, I just enjoyed that when I saw that today. On one level, I kind of go, I could imagine myself doing that. But on another, it's like, dude, you need to be full of caffeine. And the president of the United States, you don't fall asleep. Although, how boring do those messages sound? Oh my gosh. Hey, shall we wrap up? We've got one more story to wrap up with, and it's another one that's really just got some footage. So here, some footage, but not an actual news story. The Prime Minister backs Minister's pragmatic call to spend Kāinga Ora money on local bridge. We'll play the video for you in a second. Senior Minister Chris Bishop is rejecting criticism. No, like he did yesterday with EVs. No. Over a funding decision shifting Kāinga Ora money to a walking and cycling bridge in his electorate that he campaigned on. Bishop, who was the Housing and Transport Minister and Hutt South MP, agreed in March this year to lower Hutt City Council's request to reallocate funds earmarked for stormwater upgrades for the City Link Bridge, a project he campaigned on. He campaigned on it. Overall, National doesn't like it. He campaigned on doing it, and then he got the money taken from the project he campaigned on doing, and he gave that money to another project in his own electorate. I mean, haven't we heard this government spit tax about people like Julianne Genter focusing and looking to get money for cycle lanes in their own electorate? Hasn't that been a big news story in the last cycle? So let's have a listen to what Christopher Hipkins says, and then a very short comment afterwards from the Prime Minister. I'm going to refresh the page. This is me singing my refresh song because I need to refresh the page.
So you've got Chris Bishop taking money from one of his portfolios, housing, to give to another one of his portfolios, transport, for a project in his own electorate, which he had publicly campaigned for, that his own government cancelled. All of that just doesn't...
Did you get that, Jenga Whānau? He campaigned on something that his government then cancelled. So he took money from that cancelled one that he campaigned on and he put it to something in his own electorate. Right. That sounds normal.
Doesn't pass the sniff test.
What are you suggesting went wrong? Like, what is actually the sin there?
Well, the money that he's reallocated for a walking and cycling project had been allocated for stormwater work so that more houses could be built in the Hutt Valley. Clearly, that's...
I think that's the Kāinga Ora connection as well. More houses could be built, and there was Kāinga Ora houses. So houses for vulnerable people. Nah. I'm going to put it in something in my electorate that I can then point to in a year from now saying, look what I did for you, elect me again.
Stormwater work's not going to happen if that money's being spent on a walking and cycling bridge instead.
It sounds like the council are pretty keen on it.
Everyone's keen on it. I'm keen on it. But I don't think they should be taking money away from stormwater infrastructure to prop up a project which they cancelled. They basically said as a government, we don't want walking and cycling bridges, so they're cancelling all of those. And now Chris Bishop says, except for the one in my electorate, which I'm going to take money away from housing to pay for.
So is it Paul Barrowing?
I think it's a very questionable process, and it certainly doesn't pass the sniff test in terms of having one minister moving money from one portfolio that he's responsible for to another portfolio that he's responsible for a project which he campaigned on in his own electorate, which his government cancelled.
Are you confident that everything was above board in terms of how Chris Bishop handled the project in his electorate regarding Kāinga Ora funding?
Absolutely. Very pragmatic funding decision, but also he took advice from the Cabinet Office and he acted accordingly with that advice.
So now they're taking advice. It's funny how this government rejects advice. Remember, Luxon himself says my ministers won't even read the advice. But then when they needed to defend their decisions, no, we took advice. So it's not us, it's them. They decided we took advice. So yeah, that's a bit of a crazy one. Just let me say this one thing, because this comes on the heels, and I won't play it for you, although it's a pretty good thing to play the credits here. Oh, look at those credits. Emily's a legend. Craig Rennie was on Gary's podcast, which came out on Monday. We did like a one that wasn't part of the cycle. And what Craig found out was that there is half a billion of taxpayers' dollars evaporated, right? Craig told the podcast about the $500 million in the health budget that didn't get spent despite overwhelming need. Now, this is the more serious part of this, right? It's okay to take the piss out of Chris Bishop and others saying, well, what's going on? But he's reallocating money from one area to another. The government is reallocating money, half a trillion, 500 billion from health. Remember that whole thing earlier in there when they're putting 50 million into the private sector to get rid of the queues on the waiting list? Well, they haven't spent 10 times that. So they put 50 million in and they haven't spent 500 million. So that 500 million could have gone straight into the public system, getting more nurses, getting more doctors, advertising offshore, trying to bring them in, and no backlog, no waiting list anymore, whānau, because if 50 million was going to clear up a lot of the backlog, imagine what 500 million would have done. We haven't spent, that goes into the consolidated fund next year for us to then cover our asses because we've overspent on tax breaks, landlords, big tobacco, and it seems big oil as well, Chewie.
Look, I think what Luxons means by the fact that this is a pragmatic funding decision is that by taking money from Kāinga Ora and putting it towards a bridge in the Hutt in Bishop's electorate, it's an acknowledgement that because they have cut building Kāinga Ora social homes, that people are going to end up living under that bridge. So that's okay. Like it's the fact that Simeon Brown's mission against anything that could actually help someone on a bicycle must be culled has blown up in his colleague's face, and he's had to do a spreadsheet switcheroo to fix it, to make sure he doesn't break a promise and looks like an utter goon by doing it. Like, it's spectacular how inept and corrupt this government is. We shouldn't stand for it.
Oh, if we're not going to stand for it, Chewie, is there anything we can do about that? Like in 12 months from now?
What we can do is we can go to our local paper and say that we're not going to stand for it anymore, and then have our photos taken with our arms crossed. That's one way to enact social change. I understand, taught to me by the grey-haired locals of Mosgiel whenever they're unhappy about something. That's how they get shit done. Outside of that, I don't know.
I thought when they got together like that around the building and they cross their arms and look grumpy was because they gravitate towards one another, and they saw one person there, and when you have one elderly person there with their arms crossed, the other's just kind of, it's like a magnetic force, and then there's a group of them. I thought it was just, that was the reason they did it.
I just see in the chat that a new hashtag has just been birthed.
Right roll.
Hashtag ditch the pricks in 26.
Oh,
that's very good.
Where is that? Oh, there it is there, Rochelle.
That is very good. I like that a lot.
Should that be a t-shirt? Hashtag ditch the pricks in 26. I don't know what kind of turnaround we could do with that. Okay, whānau. Right, I'll put that up there because now it's on the program forever. So when I can't remember it tomorrow, I can zap through to 23 minutes. Yes, I see that hand.
I have one other question. Can I just say, from Chippy's appearances there, both in the Ryan dreadful interview with Ryan Bridge and the comments about this, he did really, really well. Like, he did that thing that I mentioned, where when someone like Ryan Bridge comes at you and tries to stick another party's policy on your front lap and go, well, what are you going to do about it? You go, this is a Green Party policy. Why don't you ask them?
Yeah, and we haven't made our policies yet. Yeah.
You'll find out when we want to tell you.
And we're not fans of seabed mining, so we'll definitely do something around that. I guess the thing with that as well is it's like, I think it's fair for a political party to go like, yeah, we haven't really talked about that yet. We're still working on it. You know what I mean? It's like we haven't.
It sounded real.
Yeah.
As I guess in my case there. Now look, Labor may bottle it and just do a half-assed sort of thing, but this, when your coalition partner has gone, no, this is a button issue for us. This is where we stand. It feels pretty strong for me from the Greens.
I have a tangent in me, Chewie, but I'm not sure I want to do it.
What?
Do I want to do a tangent? A few minutes?
Yeah, go on. You got 5 minutes. Start the clock.
I had a conversation with someone today, and the person asked me, we were talking about the politics. Person asked me, are these guys going to get back in, meaning National? And I went, yeah, it's possible. It's probably 50-50. And I had a thought for the first time. And this is the thought. Is the country who said pretty strongly to Chippy, we don't like you enough to re-elect you, now going to say, oh, we were wrong. We like you lots. We're going to re-elect you. And as part of that conversation, I went, and if National get rid of Luxon, and I was watching Bomber's show tonight, and the panel was asked, and most of them seemed to think it was quite a high chance that if the polls remain the same, there might be movement over summer. And a Chris Bishop or someone like that gets in there, does that put the ball in their court? But the thing what I was going to ask is, will the public re-elect someone who basically they flipped the bird to, 24 months ago? I don't know the answer to this, and it's not me being negative about I like Chippy, I think he's great, but will they? Will the country go, yep, because basically what they'd have to go is we were wrong to elect that other guys. Because remember, the Labor are going for those, they're either going for those centrist-ish left voters, or they're going to have to get voters to re-engage who weren't engaged. I think most people to re-engage who weren't engaged typically are further left. But it's just my thought today. It was just a little thought. I don't have an answer to it. I'm not being a purveyor of doom. I just thought if you remove someone because you think the other guys can do better, whatever we do, are you then confident to put that person back in? That's all.
I think you're looking at the clash of two things that New Zealanders like to do. You've obviously spoken about the fact before that no party with the least popular preferred prime minister stats has ever won.
Well, I don't think ever. But I think it's fair to say
in our memory,
it seems to be a trend. Be fair to it, just in case.
It seems to be a trend.
Yeah.
But that plays against another trend. Like, do you think that was a vote against Chippy, or a vote that sits in line with the other New Zealand trend of going to a government you can have 2 terms and then we're kind of sick of it, get out?
Well, I think in recent times it's 3 terms. I think what it was a vote against Jacinda. I think that's what it was. I think that was what the vote was.
I wouldn't even go that far. I think that's a vote against COVID memory. Like we saw that play out around the world. No government that was in charge during COVID survived their next election.
I agree, but that's why. So and people tie COVID to Jacinda. But then again, if we're going to talk about trends, we're also then going to have to go, typically we don't have one-term governments.
Yeah, so we have a clash of trends. New Zealand's going to have to make up its mind. I don't know, like when I think back to the key national government, right? Now, me and all of my crew didn't like him, but for a lot of middle New Zealand, he was perfectly acceptable. He wasn't rocking the boat too much. He was seen as, for some reason, someone you could have a beer with at a barbecue, which is a fucked metric, right?
Yeah.
But that was enough. He just skated under everybody's radar. He didn't offend people enough. I don't see that with this government. It is full of unlikable characters and really unlikable to middle New Zealand. They don't see the purpose in a lot of these things. And it's issues that I think people have misjudged middle New Zealand. Like, they don't really care about issues around the treaty. Well, it turns out that quite a few of us do.
Yeah.
You know, they're not going to mind if we just feed school kids fucking slop. A lot of us have kids and are really pissed off about that.
Yeah.
You know, and it just seems to be one thing after another, after another, after another. They're unlikable. They're not seen as being competent. There are people that will always cheerlead for them. But I think if you look at, you know, even a shitty metric, like look at the comments on their posts on Facebook, the positive ones there are from locked profiles with like 8 friends. They're not real people. The comments that are authentic and seem to be from real people are angry. Then go to Labour's page and do the same thing. It's a night and day difference. You will have the national cheerleaders, those same profiles with 8 friends and a locked picture of a motorcycle or a fish, saying that they're the worst pack of communists to ever stalk the globe. But they don't have as much of those fake cheerleaders over on the Labour page. I am confident, quietly confident at this stage, but I think this is an avalanche that National can't stop.
Maybe we should do a live event on election night. What do you reckon? Do a pub night. Yeah,
definitely somewhere at a pub, because I'm going to need a drink to either calm my nerves for that night. Yeah, it could be good. Yep.
All right, Whānau. I think that's us. Oh, look at that. 6 minutes, Chewie. Sheesh. We did it. Didn't go for 9 hours on our tangent. There's actually a second part of that tangent, but I kept that to myself because I don't want to go for 9 minutes. 9 hours, I mean. Just a reminder, we're talking about the live events. The 5th of December. Public meeting at 6:30. Podcast meetup at 5:30. I think we're going to have the whole crew there having dinner. So that's, you know, Chewie and Mrs. Chewie if she wants to come, and Gary and his wife if she wants to come, and, you know, Emily and Magenta, and we're all going to be there to hang out we'll have dinner there. So it might be a bit of a different kind of meetup, I guess, compared to like Auckland. Auckland meetup was like just around snacks and having lots of chats, whereas we're using this to have dinner. So we're gonna have a feed, and you can have a feed with us if you want and hang out for a bit. And then 6:30 public meeting, and the topic is something like our health system's really screwed, or something like that. It's an approximation of what the topic is. And that'll be at 6:30 till about 8ish, and then I don't know, we all power off to a woof or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. All right. So, is there anything else in the chatty chat? Oh, you can't do it, can you? Damn it.
I can't do it because StreamYard hates me.
I spoke to them today. Remind me once we get off here. I'll tell you the good and bad news for it. What have we got? Danger of Mouse says Trumpism opening the eyes of the world's left wing. Arvid says, speak of advice. Did you hear advice re Palestine? Nope. I mean, I heard them saying they were going to take Trump's idea and the UN signed off on it, and Gaza went, nope, because it means de-arming Hamas, and they refused to do that. But if that's what it is, yes, I did. If it's something else, I did not hear it. And V-Bunch says, people are desperate to get rid of this government. The question is, and look, acknowledge it. People throw this at us like it's a criticism. We are in an echo chamber here on some levels. We do still cover lots of things, and but yes, you're correct. But the question is, are enough people angry? Right? That's the thing. Are enough? And although we will always try and be fair and, you know, that sort of thing, you're going to get a perspective from us that has a bias to it. But we are open and honest about that, which is the difference between us and everybody else who does this.
And look, if you give us a subscribe or follow, even if you hate us and you hate the left, you can tune in on election night and see me really upset. But you have to subscribe and maybe join our Patreon for 12 months to get that.
Oh, maybe we should do a members only.
We'll put like it'll be behind a paywall of me just sobbing directly, like eyeball fucking the camera, just tears, mascara down my face, being really upset. And you can share that with your right wing mates, or alternatively, you'll be locked behind that paywall with me, just being really fucking smug about the whole thing.
We'll do one of those perfect GIFs where it loops perfectly, and it just looks like you're crying constantly, but it's only one tear that constantly comes out over and over again.
It'll be
That's what
art.
we'll do.
We'll do it in black and white to keep it classy.
Very good. All right, team. Now, tomorrow night, we've got the new leader of the Opportunity Party coming on. That's going to be fun. And I'm about to go off and email my principals at my 2 schools if they'd like to come on as well and tell us why they're not on that list.
I just did that as well.
You did it? Nice.
Help us settle a debate, whether it be thoughtful or funny, even if we're all creatures of hate. It's a fine line that we're walking together. For better, push aside the temptation to berate. Let's take a note of the corners we stand in. As many points as the hairs on my chinny chin chin. When the news that we're watching is hairy, knowing all the things that we need to be wary of. Like the rich have the hand out for rewards, while the many have to work out what they can't afford. And the rest of us ain't paying attention, or maybe have questions we're too worried to mention. Other media is still dwelling on trivial facts, vetting peas from the rice and the mice from the rats, and picking and choosing a war path to run, linking ourselves with the hill to die on. It's gotta come down to a welcoming vibe, with an A and a self and a higher in mind. All have a lean either this way or that, and will be analyzed by both Chewie and Pat. With the evil in the world trying to mess with your head, and you're sitting on the couch, you're thinking chivalry's dead. Each night, 2 nights, they're gonna sing you to bed. It's Big Hairy News.
Anything else to wrap up with, Chewie? I'm kind of done. I've got nothing else to add, really.
No, it's not nice time.
Someone tonight has just bought the full house. I've seen that come through, so we'll get that in the post to you tomorrow. bhn.nz/shop. There's some freebies for everybody in there. Thanks for being part of us tonight. We will talk to you tomorrow night, live from 9, here in Big Hairy News. Hooroo!
Cheers, fam.